Good morning. We'll start with revising the ratio analysis. Before we start with revision, let us go with certain recap of certain formulas and other things. Okay, the basic starts with profitability ratio. Normally that is expressed in percentage. How to work out gross profit ratio? Gross profit by sales into 100. If you want operating profit ratio, operating profit divided by sales into 100. How to work out operating profit? Gross profit minus operating expenses, operating profit divided by sales into 100. If you want net profit ratio, net profit divided by sales into 100. All these gross profit ratio, operating profit ratio, net profit ratio are expressed in terms of what? Sales, in relation with sales. Then we work out earnings per share. Nothing but earnings, how much you are earning per equity share. Okay, this you would have done in financial management also. Net profit minus dividend on preference shares divided by number of equity shares. Then we work out something called as price to earnings ratio, PE ratio, nothing but market price divided by what? Earnings per share we work out. Then we work out return on investment. How to work out return on investment? EBIT divided by return on investment. EBIT divided by capital employed into 100. What is EBIT? Earnings before interest and tax. You can look at the question. Sales plus other income minus cost of sales will give us gross profit. Minus operating expenses will give us EBIT. EBIT divided by capital employed into 100 will give us return on investment, otherwise called as return on funds invested, total funds invested. How to work out capital employed? There are two methods of working. One is you take share capital plus reserves and surplus minus investments. Share capital plus reserves and surplus, okay, plus long-term debt minus investment. How to work out capital employed? Share capital plus reserves and surplus plus long-term debt minus what? Investment. This is one method of working. What is another method of working? Fixed asset plus working capital. Fixed asset plus working capital. There are two methods in which you can work out which one? Capital employed. Then we work out return on shareholders funds. Return on shareholders funds means total shareholders funds. We take net profit divided by shareholders funds into 100. Shareholders funds will include both equity share capital and preference share capital. Share capital plus reserves and surplus, of course, after eliminating miscellaneous expenditure. Next, we work out return on equity shareholders funds, where we will take net profit minus preference dividend. Net profit minus preference dividend divided by equity shareholders funds into 100. Here we will take only equity share capital and reserves and surplus. Please understand the differences. They ask you return on investment, earnings before interest and tax divided by what? Total capital invested. It includes share capital, all reserves, long-term debt also, minus investment, or fixed asset plus working capital. They just ask you return on equity or return on shareholders funds, return on net worth, net profit divided by shareholders funds. Shareholders funds here means both equity and preference shareholders funds. If it is return on equity shareholders funds, net profit after paying preference dividend divided by equity shareholders funds into 100. Then we work out return on total assets. Net profit divided by total assets. Total assets excluding those assets which are not having any value. So like this we work out which ratio? Profitability ratio. Then turnover ratio. Turnover ratio is otherwise called as activity ratio. How fast you run business. Otherwise called as performance ratios. Basically, we test on three turnovers. One is called as stock turnover. How to work out stock turnover? Cost of goods sold divided by what? Average stock. Cost of goods sold divided by what? Average stock. Opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2. Then, if you want to express it in days, that is called as stock velocity. 365 days divided by stock turnover will give us what? How many days the stock stays in the godown. Then we work out debtors velocity. or debtors turnover ratio. Debtors turnover, how to work out? Credit sales. If that is not available, you can take sales divided by what? Average of debtors and which one? Bills receivable. So that will give us debtors turnover ratio. Wherever you want to express in days, there is 365 days divided by turnover. How to work out creditors turnover? Net credit purchases. That is not available, you can take purchases divided by average of creditors plus one? Bills payable. Then any other turnover ratio, sales divided by respective item. If they ask you fixed asset turnover ratio, sales by fixed asset. If they ask you working capital turnover ratio, sales by working capital. Total asset turnover ratio, sales by total assets. That you can work out. That is turnover ratios. Then we work out solvency ratio. The main is long-term solvency, debt to equity ratio. How to work out debt to equity ratio? Long-term debt divided by shareholders' funds. We work out capital gearing ratio. What is capital gearing? I told you. Capital gearing is nothing but, okay, the fixed interest bearing securities, long-term debt plus preference share capital divided by equity shareholders' funds. Because there is a fixed income paid to the long-term debt and preference shareholders. Using their funds we gear, which means we get advantage to whom? Equity shareholders. If there is no gearing, growth will be slow. If there is a high gearing, growth will be high. At the same time, risk also very high because you have to pay a fixed interest to whom? Long-term debt and preference shareholders divided by equity shareholders funds. So that is called as capital gearing ratio. Then current ratio. What is current ratio? Current assets by current liabilities. Liquid ratio. Current assets minus stock and prepaid expenses. You will give us liquid assets divided by current liabilities. You work out something called as quick ratio. That is nothing but current assets minus stock and prepaid expenses will give us quick assets divided by current liability minus bank OD. That will give us quick liabilities. Quick assets means quickly convertible into cash. Current assets minus stock and prepaid expenses divided by current liability minus OD. OD can be rolled over. So we eliminate OD to get quick liabilities. That is called as which one? Quick ratio. If they ask you cash ratio, cash divided by current assets and the work out. So just to recap certain basic formulas. Now let us work out first a forward question, then let us go for a reverse question. Look at this question. They ask you a lengthy question like this. This was tested for 5 marks. It goes for 2 pages. 5 marks கேட்டிருக்கான். எடுத்தோடனே பேனிக் ஆகிடும் இல்லையா? என்ன கொஸ்டின் கேட்டிருக்கான்னு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அனலைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. என்ன ரேஷியோ கேட்டிருக்கான்? கரண்ட் ரேஷியோ, லிக்விட் ரேஷியோ, கிராஸ் ப்ராஃபிட் மார்ஜின், நெட் ப்ராஃபிட் மார்ஜின் அண்ட் விச் ஒன்? ரிட்டர்ன் ஆன் ஈக்விட்டி கேட்டிருக்கான். Current ratio, liquid ratio, gross profit margin, net profit margin and which one? Return on equity. First let us write the formula that is required. First in a ratio. Example short forms avoid பண்ணுங்க. Classroom purpose is okay. Current assets divided by current liabilities. Liquid ratio. Current assets minus stock and prepaid expenses. Divided by current liabilities. Like this, let us be clear on which formula we are going to use. That is called as which ratio? Liquid ratio. Next in ratio கேட்டிருக்காங்க. They ask you gross profit margin ratio. Gross profit margin ratio. Simple. Gross profit divided by sales into 100. எல்லாமே into 100 இருக்கும். Then what is the next ratio? Net profit ratio. Net profit divided by sales into 100. Net profit means profit after tax. Next, return on equity. Net profit divided by, it is not return on equity shareholders funds. Return on equity na return on net worth rendu onnu. So net profit divided by shareholders funds into 100 into 100. just go through the handout and try to apply the numbers for this question. Into 100 current ratio, liquid ratio 100 because it is expressed in proportion. GP ratio, net profit ratio, return on equity only requires what? Multiplied by 100. Current assets கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. Current assets in the 16.64, 15.43, 1.75, 16.64, 15.43, 1.75. Current liabilities direct ave கொடுத்துட்டோம். What is the current liabilities? 11.25. It will give us a ratio. Any ratio. (3.0:1). Current assets minus stock and prepaid expenses. Current assets minus stock and prepaid expenses. So don't take stock and prepaid expenses, only this much you take. Divided by current liabilities. GP ratio கேட்டிருக்காங்க. Gross profit divided by sales into 100. 33.98 divided by 144. Gross profit ratio is expressed in percentage. Net profit ratio. What is the net profit? 15.78 divided by sales. Return on equity 15.78 net profit divided by shareholders funds. What is shareholders funds in this question? Share capital plus reserves and surplus. 27 plus 6.36. So the problem may be like 2 pages are இருக்கலாம், but the solution is direct என்ன வேணும் தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும் அவ்வளவுதான்.
Return on equity கொடுத்துட்டு percent share கொடுத்துனாலும் கூட
we will take it. Yet shareholders funds means this includes equity share capital plus preference share capital plus reserves and surplus minus miscellaneous expenditure. Return on equity is nothing but return on shareholders' funds. Total shareholders' funds. It is also called as return on net worth. Specific return on equity shareholders' funds, we will take net profit minus preference dividend divided by equity shareholders' funds into 100. General return on equity it is return on total shareholders' funds. Go to the next question, please. Shall we? This copy பண்ணிட்டீங்களா? Or other the 5, all these 5 over. Proceed பண்ணலாமா? Live online friends, இது complete பண்ணிட்டீங்களா? Have you completed this? Go through this CMA based question. With the help of the following information, complete the balance sheet கேட்டிருக்காங்க. Equity, share capital, the relevant ratios are given. Current debt to total debt. What do you mean by current debt to total debt? Current liability divided by long-term borrowings. Current liability divided by long-term borrowings கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. Total debt to equity. Here equity, they refer equity share capital. Total debt now that includes current debt and what? Long-term debt nartham. Fixed asset to owners equity கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. Total asset turnover is given. Inventory turnover is given. They ask you to prepare a balance sheet. Where to start? Equity share capital based on any information available. Based on this equity share capital, what is given? Total debt work out பண்ணலாம். Then fixed asset work out பண்ணலாம். Using that we can find out the others. Total debt divided by equity, na, they refer equity share capital only in this question. total debt equity share capital எவ்வளவு அமௌண்ட் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க, என்ன ப்ரொபோர்ஷன் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க, 0.6. If this is 0.6 na, the other one is 1 rupee note. We are given with which one? Equity share capital. What is equity share capital given? If this is 1 lakh, 0.6 will be how much? 60,000. We work. Take up this. You can take it up along with me. So we worked out total debt. Next one is current debt. Nothing but current liability to total debt. First take கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. இந்த ரேஷியோ கொடுத்திருக்காங்க 0.4:1. So then the total debt we worked out. If this is 60,000, what is it? 0.4 will be 24,000. Done. Next என்ன கொடுத்திருக்காங்க, based on equity share capital என்ன கொடுத்திருக்காங்க, fixed asset to equity share capital. What is the ratio given? So if this is 1, this will be 60,000. Balance sheet like we can compile liability side. This equity and liability side we can compile. Share capital கொடுத்திருக்காங்க 1 lakh. The question no information about reserves and surplus, so leave it. Long-term debt. Long-term debt is nothing but from total debt, eliminate short-term debt, you will get what? Long-term debt 36,000. Short-term debt is nothing but current liability. Short-term debt output 24,000. So this is the total as of now available to us. We know total of asset should be equal to total of liabilities in India. So when liability total is this much, asset total should be same 1,60,000 தான் இருக்கணும். Total of liability should be equal to total of assets. Okay, we have to find out what is fixed asset and which one? Current asset. How to do that? Current assets we worked out. Illa. Current assets work out பண்ணல, fixed asset work out பண்ணல, but some ratio is given. Fixed asset turnover, total assets turnover கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. Total assets turnover how many times? 2 times. What is total assets turnover? Sales divided by total assets. கொடுத்திருக்கானே. Fixed asset we can take 60,000. Okay. Sales divided by total assets. கொடுத்திருக்கானா? Sales divided by total assets. எவ்வளவு கொடுத்திருக்காங்க? 2 times. if this is 1,60,000, this is known to us, they will then what is the formula for inventory turnover? Cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold divided by average inventory or average stock. The cost of goods sold is not available. Cost of goods sold கொடுக்காதனால, since it is not available, we can take what? Sales. Cost of goods sold gross profit margin எதுவுமே கொடுக்கல. அது கொடுக்காதனால we take which one? Sales. Since cost of goods sold is not available, we take which one? Sales. So, what is the turnover? 3,20,000. எவ்வளோ டைம்ஸ் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க?
8.
If this is 8. Inventory is how much? Inventory is 40,000. So current assets include inventory. Inventory how much? 40,000. Current assets will be 1 lakh in total. Yeah. This 1 lakh is nothing but 1,60,000 minus fixed asset. This 1 lakh is nothing but 1,60,000 minus fixed asset. 60,000. So balance inventory 40,000 now. Balance other current assets. Other current assets 60,000. So total assets minus fixed asset will give us current assets. In the current asset, inventory if it is 40,000, we will take other assets. Normally, for inventory turnover, you should use cost of goods sold divided by average stock. But in the question, we are not given which one? Gross profit. So sales by inventory. So based on equity share capital, we worked out total debt. Current debt to total debt, we worked out current liabilities. Okay, share capital plus long-term debt plus current liability will give us total of liability side. We know total of assets will be equal to total of liabilities. Total of asset is equal to total of liabilities. 1,60,000. We have taken 1,60,000. Adala fixed asset 60 na, current asset balance will be 1 lakh. Using the inventory turnover, sales to total assets, which is sales kandupidichom. Then from the sales or from the inventory, we worked out which one? Or from the sales, we worked out which one? Inventory. Actually, as cost of goods sold by inventory தான் போடணும். But the question we are not given which one? Gross profit margin. So, with the available option, sales by inventory தான் போட முடியும். In the question, there is no reserves and surplus because there is no data or ratio available to work out which one? Reserves and surplus. Shall we? Over. Proceed பண்ணலாமா? Next question. We are given working capital கொடுத்திருக்காங்க, fixed asset to net worth கொடுத்திருக்காங்க, other equity means reserves and surplus. Other equity it's not equity share capital. They mean reserves and surplus. Bank OD கொடுத்திருக்காங்க, trade payable they ask you, current ratio, quick ratio கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. What is working capital? Okay. We know current ratio. What is the current ratio given? 2.5x நான் சும்மா substitute பண்றேன். Current assets by current liability. So current assets 2.5x na minus current liability 1x அப்படினா working capital is given to us in the question. எவ்வளவு கொடுத்திருக்காங்க? 3 lakhs கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. That is nothing but 1.5x. If 1.5x is 3 lakhs, x will be 3 lakhs divided by 1.5. If x is 2 lakhs, current asset 2.5x will be equal to 2 lakh into 2.5. Current liability, of course, x தான். எவ்வளவு இருக்கு? X is equal to 2 lakhs. You can verify also. 5 lakh divided by 2 lakh will give us 5 lakh divided by 2 lakhs will give us 2.5. So using the working capital and current ratio, we worked out current assets and current liability. Current assets and which one? Current liability. Next என்ன கொடுத்திருக்காங்க? Quick assets. Quick ratio. Quick ratio. What is quick ratio? Current asset minus stock and prepaid expenses divided by current liability minus bank OD. அப்படியே substitute பண்ணுங்க. Current assets we know 5 lakhs minus stock தெரியாது, nothing but inventory, divided by current liability we know bank OD is also given to us. What is a bank OD given to us? 60,000 கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. This is equal to 1.8. The solve பண்ண 5 lakhs minus stock. If this goes to the other side, it will become multiplication. 2 lakh minus 60, 1 lakh 40,000 rupees. This is equal to 1.8 into 1 lakh 40,000. So when you interchange, stock is equal to 5 lakhs minus in the 1.8 into 1 lakh 40,000. There is a value of stock. The stock minus plus side, this plus will become minus. 5 lakh minus 2 lakh 52,000 will give us stock value. What is the stock value? 2,48,000 stock value we got. 2 lakh minus 1 lakh, sorry, 60 is 1 lakh 40. 1.8 into 1 lakh 40 item. So stock value will be 5 lakh minus 2 lakh 52,000. 2 lakh 48,000 we got stock value. This is what the answer for the fourth subdivision. Correct. Then, how to proceed further? How to proceed further? We are given fixed asset to net worth. Fixed asset divided by net worth கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. Fixed asset divided by net worth is 0.75. Net worth is 1 rupee net. What do you mean by net worth? Equity, shareholders funds. Shareholders funds is nothing but share capital plus reserves and surplus. Fixed asset ரெண்டுமே தெரியாது என்ன பண்றது? Have you taken up to this? இது வரைக்கும் எடுத்துறீங்களா? Take it. How to proceed further? Resource and surplus alone is given, but we want both share capital plus resource and surplus. We proceed further.
Network no ratio. Fixed assets plus.
Yes. We know the capital employed ஒரு formula use பண்ணுவோம். Shareholders funds plus long term debt minus investment. This should be equal to fixed assets plus working capital. Then capital employed ரெண்டு formula. The question is long term debt or investment detail is not available. So we can reduce this formula to shareholders funds. Shareholders funds is equal to fixed asset plus working capital. The question is we are not given data about which one, long term debt or investment. So the question is fixed asset plus working capital will give us which one? Shareholders funds, net worth. Okay, the ratio pathina, if this is 1, if the shareholders funds are 1, fixed assets are 0.75 nartham. Appo balance 1 rupee shareholders funds na 75 paise invested in fixed asset. Balance 0.25 is working capital. I repeat, fixed asset net worth kuduthirukanga. What is fixed asset net worth? 0.75 is to 1. What is the formula for capital employed? Shareholders funds plus long term debt minus investment. In our formula, fixed asset plus working capital. In the question, we are not given data about which one, long term debt or investment. Long term debt or investment data kudukla. Appo reduce panna shareholders funds is equal to fixed asset plus working capital. Net worth is nothing but shareholders funds. Adu 1 rupana 0.75 is fixed asset nanto. Balance 0.25 is working capital. We know this balance 0.25 that is given in the question.
3 lakhs.
This is 3 lakhs now. Okay, 0.75 euro. If 3 lakhs is like 0.25, what is 0.75? 9 lakhs. If 3 lakhs is like 0.25, what is 0.75? 9 lakhs. 9 lakhs plus 3 lakhs add panna, shareholders funds will become what? 12 lakhs. Shareholders funds will become 12 lakhs. Nothing but 9 lakhs plus 3 lakhs. 12 lakhs. Wait panna. Shareholders funds include share capital plus reserves and surplus. Shareholders funds will include share capital plus what? Reserves and surplus. Total எவ்வளவு இருக்கு? 12 lakhs. We are given reserves and surplus. எவ்வளவு கொடுத்திருக்காங்க? 2 lakhs na. அப்போ share capital will be how much? 10 lakhs. Share capital will be 10 lakhs. Total 12 lakhs. Reserves and surplus கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. அப்போ share capital will be 10 lakhs. இப்போ let us answer the given question specifically. என்னென்ன question கேட்டிருக்காங்க? Assess the amount of which one? Trade payable. Current liability என்ன இருக்குங்க? Current liability எவ்வளோ work out பண்ணும்? What is the current liability we worked out?
2 lakhs.
2 lakhs. That includes bank OD. Bank OD எவ்வளோ இருக்கு? 60,000. Balance can be taken as trade receivables. Where the data available, so balance can be taken as which one? Trade receivable. We are not given any detail about prepaid expense, any outstanding expenses, any other liability. So balance can be taken as trade receivable. 1,40,000 can be taken as trade receivable. This is the answer for the first question. Second indicator comparison. Equity share capital we worked out. $10 lakhs. What is the third one they asked me? Fixed assets. Fixed asset also we worked out how much? 9 lakhs. See, when you do some lengthy working, when they ask you like this, at the end give the summary of answer. So that examiner will be easily able to find out your answer and give the marks. Fourth one, inventory also we worked out. Inventory also we worked out. What is inventory? $248,000. I repeat the full flow. Based on working capital, we worked out which one? Current assets and which one? Current liability. Quick ratio, current assets minus stock and prepaid expenses divided by current liability minus bank OD. Current liability we worked out, bank OD is given. Current assets also we worked out. Stock we find out. What is the amount? 2,48,000 we find out. Using the fixed asset to net worth. Okay. In the long-term debt or investment is not given in the question, and the component not available in the question. Upon shareholders funds is equal to fixed asset plus working capital. The one. It is given 0.75:1. What is the meaning? If 1 rupee is there in shareholders funds, 0.75 is invested in fixed asset nartham. Remaining is invested in which one? Working capital. If working capital is 3 lakhs, fixed asset is how much? 9 lakhs. Total 12 lakhs. So this 12 lakhs include reserves and surplus. 2 lakhs now. Share capital will be like 10 lakhs. Then we give the summary. Next question நீங்களே ட்ரை பண்ணி பார்க்கலாம். இதே மாடல் தான் இருக்கும். Next question. இந்த December 2023 question இருக்கும். Go through that question. Try the next question. Try the next question. They ask you to find out current assets, current liabilities, and value of which one? Stop. Current ratio கொடுத்திருக்காங்க, liquid ratio கொடுத்திருக்காங்க, fixed asset to shareholders funds கொடுத்திருக்காங்க, working capital is given, reserves and surplus, bank OD is also given to us. Please remember, it is not quick ratio, it is which ratio? Liquid ratio. கொஞ்சம் கேர்ஃபுல்லாக ஒர்க் அவுட் பண்ணுங்க.
denominator CA மட்டும்.
Correct. Current asset minus stock divided by current liabilities is liquid ratio. Try பண்ணுங்க.
இதை போயிட்டு ரிவைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. ரெண்டு
What is the ratio given? Current assets to current liability 2.5, 1.5. Okay. Working capital கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. What is the working capital given to us? 60,000.
Now because they're asking for three values.
Current assets, current liability ரெண்டுமே வேணும். If this is X will be 16,000. If X is 40,000, this will be 40,000 into 2.5, 1 lakh வரும். This will be
40,000.
okay. Current assets 1 lakh minus stock and prepaid expenses divided by current liability now. Because the ratio given is not quick ratio. Ratio given is which ratio? Liquid ratio. இந்த சால்வ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா எவ்வளோ வாட் இஸ் ரேஷியோ கிவன்
1.5 1.5 40,000.
இங்கேயும் ஃபிக்ஸட் அசெட் டு நெட் ஒர்த் 0.75:1 தான் கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. ஸோ சேம் ஸ்டைல் யூ அப்ரோச். இதெல்லாம் ஃபுல்லாக எழுத தேவையில்லை, எக்ஸாமினேஷனில் இதெல்லாம் எழுத தேவையில்லை. ஜஸ்ட் ஃபார் யுவர் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்டிங் அண்ட் கொஸ்டின் கேட்கலீங்களா? நாட் ரெக்வயர்ட்.
CL and inventory தான் கேட்கலாம்.
ஓகே, சப்போஸ் அதுவும் கேட்டு என்ன பண்ணுறது, ப்ராக்டிஸ் தானே. வில் டூ இட். Let us work out share capital, then fixed asset also. Suppose கேட்டிருந்தாங்க என்ன பண்ணுவோம்? It's not asked. Share capital and which one? Fixed asset சேர்த்து கேட்டிருந்தாங்க என்ன? Same approach now we can do like last question. Working capital, how much is given? 60,000 given in the question. If that is 0.25 now, what is 0.75? So 2,40,000 will be the total. So this includes 2,40,000 includes reserves and surplus. எவ்வளோ இருக்கு reserves and surplus?
40,000.
இங்கே ஓடி கன்சிடர் பண்றது இல்லைன்னா we are given which ratio? Not quick ratio, we are given liquid ratio. புரியல. அப்போ நீங்க கரண்ட் அசெட்ஸ் மைனஸ் ஸ்டாக் தான், ப்ரீபெய்ட் எக்ஸ்பென்ஸ் ஜீரோன்னு சொல்லிட்டான், கரண்ட் அசெட்ஸ் மைனஸ் ஸ்டாக். This working is not required for this question. Suppose share capital and fixed asset கேட்டிருந்தான்னா this extra working you need to do. இப்போ இந்த எக்ஸாம் கொஸ்டினை டைப் பண்ணிட்டு பின்னாடி கேட்கறதுல 2 பாயிண்ட் டைப் பண்ணாம விட்டான்னு நினைக்கிறேன். அதர்வைஸ் why should they give அந்த proprietary ratio? This is 7 marks question, so definitely அதெல்லாமே கேட்டிருக்கும். இது கம்ப்ளீட் பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா ட்ரை த நெக்ஸ்ட் கொஸ்டின். விச் கொஸ்டின்? இந்த டிசம்பர் MTP டிசம்பர் 2024 மாடல் டெஸ்ட் பேப்பர் டிசம்பர் 2024 இருக்கும், அதை ட்ரை பண்ணுங்க. Next question, sales to net worth கொடுத்திருக்காங்க 2.3. இந்த 2.3 sales first line லே கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. What is the sales given?
32 lakhs.
32 lakhs. 32 lakhs is 2.3. Okay, what is 1? Current debt. That is nothing but in the question தான் current liability மாதிரி. Divided by net worth. Current debt by net worth எவ்வளவு கொடுத்திருக்காங்க? 42.
Current debt net worth 40%.
42% of net worth. Current debt is nothing but 42% of net worth. So net worth we worked out. Current debt is equal to direct away put 42% of net worth. Next என்ன கொடுத்திருக்கா? Total debt to net worth. Total debt. எவ்வளவு percentage கொடுத்திருக்காங்க? 75% of net worth. So 75% of 1391304. The difference will be long term debt. Current debt க்கும் total debt க்கு இருக்கிற difference என்னது? Long term debt. ஆமா. அதுதான் பண்றோம். Okay. So sales by net worth 2.3 is to 1. Sales is given. Based on that, we worked out net worth. Current liability 42% of net worth கொடுத்திருக்கோம். Net worth into 42%. Total debt 75% of net worth. Long term debt is nothing but the difference between total debt and which debt? Current debt will give us long term debt. Fixed asset 53.2% of net worth work out பண்ணிட்டோம். Sales to inventory given 4.7 is to 1. This 4.7 is 32 lakh. Now what is 1? Then we prepare the balance sheet. Net worth, long term debt, current debt quota. Total of which one? Asset is equal to total of liability. Cash we get it as a balance sheet. Try the next question. That is nothing but double the numbers of the previous one that we saw. This double the number of December 2023 question. Next question, try. proprietary is nothing but shareholders funds. Proprietary refers to shareholders funds. Proprietary na the owners, shareholders. Current ratio 1.5. Okay, current assets by current liability. எவ்வளோ கொடுத்துருக்காங்க சேம் 2.5:1 நினைக்கிறேன் 1,20,000. ஸோ 1,20,000 divided by 1.5 போட்டு என்ன வரும் double the amount 80,000. So 80,000 into 2.5 will become 2 lakhs. This will become, of course, 80,000.
80,000.
இதை சால்வ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா and I hope fixed asset net worth is given the same. Same style. If this is 1,20,000, that is 0.25. Then what is 0.75? So 3,60,000 plus 1,20,000 போட்டீங்கன்னா 4,80,000 இருக்கும். That includes reserves and surplus. What is reserves and surplus? 80,000. Balance 4 lakhs will be share capital. What is the share capital? 4 lakhs. Reserves and surplus 80,000. No non-current liability, etc. Yeah, current liability now. Current liabilities include bank OD. Bank OD எவ்வளோ கொடுத்துருக்கோம்? Bank OD how much is given? 20,000. Current liability we know totally 80,000 now. Others maybe 60,000. Which may be like trade payables in the month. Non-current assets, nothing but fixed assets. Fixed asset எவ்வளோ இருக்கு ஒர்க் அவுட் பண்ணியிருக்கோம் 3,60,000. Current assets include stock and others. Stock எவ்வளோ ஒர்க் அவுட் பண்ணியிருக்கோங்க 80,000 inventory. What is the total current asset? 2 lakhs. Others would have been the balance 1,20,000. Others may be cash, debtors, and other. If you add up, you will get the total of assets. It tallies.
சார் எப்பவுமே வந்து கரண்ட் லைபிலிட்டிஸ் 1 lakhs படிக்கிறீங்க.
புரியல, கரண்ட் லைபிலிட்டி
லைபிலிட்டிஸ் வந்து அந்த ஒர்க்கிங் கேபிட்டல் கண்டுபிடிச்சிங்களே அதுல வந்து 1 போட்டுருக்கீங்க. அப்ப எப்படி கரண்ட் லைபிலிட்டி
இல்ல 2.5 ன்னு அர்த்தம். கரண்ட் அசெட்ஸ் பை கரண்ட் லைபிலிட்டி, கரண்ட் அசெட்ஸ் பை கரண்ட் லைபிலிட்டி 2.5 ன்னு அர்த்தம். 2.5 இஸ் கரண்ட் அசெட் when 1 rupee is current liability ன்னு அர்த்தம். அசம்ஷன் கிடையாது, நார்மல் மேத்தமெட்டிக்கல் ரேஷியோஸ் தான். கரண்ட் அசெட்ஸ் ஆர் 2.5 ஆஃப் கரண்ட் லைபிலிட்டி. நான் 1 ரூபாய் கரண்ட் லைபிலிட்டி இருந்தா 2.5 கரண்ட் லைபிலிட்டி, கரண்ட் அசெட்.
See, அந்த ரேஷியோ
Try the next question. Which question? This question. Debtors velocity na 3 months collection எடுத்துக்குன்னு அர்த்தம். Stock velocity na 8 months stock உடன் இருக்குன்னு அர்த்தம். Speed, velocity means speed. Speed of collection, speed of moving the stock, and creditors velocity 2 months. What do you mean by debtors velocity? The time taken for collecting money from debtors. 3 months we take to collect money from debtors. Stock வந்து 8 months தொடர்ந்து இருக்குன்னு அர்த்தம். Creditors 2 months we take to pay. GP ratio is given to us. GP ratio is given to us. First இது copy பண்ணிட்டீங்களா? Over all these things. Shall we? Start. Where to start with? We are given gross profit ratio and gross profit amount. That's the only data available to start with. What is the gross profit amount? 4 lakhs. That is nothing but 25% of sales. அப்போ சேல்ஸ் எவ்வளவு இருக்கும்? 16 lakh sales. Okay, debtors velocity, nothing but debt collection period. Formula apply பண்றது ஒரு style. We take how many months to collect? 3 months we take to collect now. 16 lakhs வந்து 1 year ஓட sales na, அதுல 3 months time எடுத்துக்கும் collect பண்றதுக்கு. So debtors balance will be 16 lakhs into 3 by 12. எவ்வளவு இருக்கும்? 4 lakhs. This is nothing but debtors plus bills receivable. Accounts receivable. Accounts receivable வந்து 4 lakhs. Bills receivable எவ்வளவு கொடுத்திருக்கா? Bills receivable given in the question எவ்வளவு கொடுத்திருக்காங்க? 25,000. Bills payable, bills receivable 25,000 கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. அப்போ debtors will be 3,75,000. We sold 60 for 16 lakhs during the year. Other 3 months outstanding on. So 4 lakh will be equal to trade receivables. Debtors plus bills receivable minus bills receivable quota debtors balance. Okay. Sales we worked out, debtors we worked out. 2 parts we worked out. What is the next one? Closing stock கேட்டிருக்காங்க. What is the formula for cost of goods sold? Or approach another sales minus gross profit. Sales எவ்வளோ? 16 lakhs minus what is the gross profit? 4 lakhs. Huh? Cost of goods sold is 12 lakhs. Cost of goods sold is 12 lakhs. What is the alternative formula for cost of goods sold? Opening stock plus purchases minus closing stock. This should be equal to 12 lakhs. This should also be equal to how much? 12 lakhs. Wait பண்ணுங்க, இந்த formula அப்புறமா வரேன். Before that, what do you mean by stock velocity? Nothing but stock holding period. Stock holding period not. எவ்வளவு months? 8 months. அப்போ cost of goods sold இருக்கு இல்லையா 12 lakhs. அதுல 8 months is there in the form of stock now. 12 lakhs into 8 by 12. 8 lakhs. This is average stock. It is given in the problem. என்ன கொடுத்திருக்காங்க? It's given in the problem. Closing stock is 10,000 more than the opening stock கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. Closing stock is 10,000 more than the opening stock கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. Okay. So average stock 8 lakhs. Opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2. Divided by 2 தான் the average stock. What is average stock? 8 lakhs. பரவாயில்லை. Opening stock X வச்சுட்டா closing stock will be X plus 10,000 divided by 2. Opening stock X item na, closing stock will be 10,000 more. The solve பண்ணீங்கன்னா you will get the value of the stock. X plus X, 2X plus 10,000 is equal to 8 lakhs into 2. 8 lakhs into 2 now 16 lakhs. Appo 2x x will be in the 16 lakh minus 10,000 divided by 2. What is the value of x? 95,000. இது வந்து என்ன ஸ்டாக் அது? Opening stock na. Closing stock will be 10,000 more. X plus 10,000. 8 lakh 5,000. அதான் கேட்டிருக்காங்க. Closing stock என்னன்னு கேட்டிருக்காங்க. இது ரொம்ப சிம்பிளா ஒர்க் அவுட் பண்ணலாம். What is the average stock? 8 lakh இருக்கு இல்லைங்களா? What is the total difference between opening stock to closing stock? இல்ல opening stock to closing stock difference எவ்வளவு இருக்கு? 10,000 இருக்கு இல்லையா? Cut the difference into 2. 5,000. plus 5000 add பண்ணா higher value வந்துடும், minus 5000 போட்டீங்கன்னா lower value வந்துடும். அப்படி கூட போடலாம். I repeat, what is the average stock? 8 lakhs. What is the total difference from opening stock to closing stock? 10,000. Middle இருந்து cut பண்ணீங்கன்னா plus 5000 will give us higher value, minus 5000 will give us what? Lower value. அந்த மாதிரி கூட போடலாம். So we worked out closing stock. Wait பண்ணுங்க. Cost of goods sold க்கு என்னென்ன ஃபார்முலா இருக்கு? Opening stock plus purchases minus closing stock will give us cost of goods sold. Opening stock தெரியும் 7,95,000 plus purchases தெரியாது minus closing stock 8,05,000 தெரியும் is equal to which one? Cost of goods sold. What is cost of goods sold? இதை சால்வ் பண்ணீங்கன்னா purchases answer ஆகும். Purchases will be 12 lakh plus 8,05,000 minus 7,95,000. 12 lakh minus இது plus ஆயிடும் இல்லையா, plus 8,05,000 minus 7,95,000, 12 lakh 10,000. Purchases we worked out. Closing stock also we worked out. Using this purchases, what we can find? Creditors velocity. Nothing but credit payment period. எவ்வளவு months கொடுத்திருக்காங்க? 2 months. So creditors plus bills payable will be nothing but 12,10,000 into எவ்வளவு months? 2 by 12. This is creditors plus bills payable. Less bills payable given. எவ்வளவு bills payable கொடுத்திருக்காங்க? 10,000 னா you will get creditors. And whenever a question is asked like this, at the end you give the summary. Summary என்ன அர்த்தம்? Sales, debtors, closing stock, creditors, the working notes எல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு கீழே ஒரு பாக்ஸ் மாதிரி போட்டு அந்த ஆன்சர் எழுதிடும். Sales 16 lakh, debtors 3,75,000, closing stock 8,05,000, creditors 191,667. Give the answer as like a summary note. Shall we? Next question பாருங்க. Go through the next question, please. Stock velocity na stock turnover or stock 6 months கொடுத்திருக்காங்க 6 times மாதிரி கொடுத்திருக்காங்க 6 னு கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. It is not 6 months. So they refer stock turnover ratio. The question they refer which one? Stock turnover ratio. Capital turnover ratio on cost of sales, fixed asset turnover ratio on cost of sales, debtors velocity தான் 2 months கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. அதான் monthly express பண்ணிருக்காங்க. GP turnover ratio, GP ratio 20%. Creditors velocity is given 73 days. GP is 60,000, reserves and surplus 20,000, closing stock is 5,000 more than the opening stock. First, இது copy பண்ணிட்டீங்களா? ஓரம் இதில் பாருங்க. They ask you to prepare a statement of preparatory funds கேட்டிருக்காங்க. Statement of preparatory funds means balance sheet. They expect you to prepare a balance sheet. The expectation is you prepare which one? Balance sheet. இங்க ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணாங்க. ஒரு வழி இல்லை. GP கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. Based on that what ratio is given? Gross profit ratio கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. அதை யூஸ் பண்ணி you can find out sales. Sales minus gross profit will give us cost of goods sold. அதை யூஸ் பண்ணி என்ன கண்டுபிடிக்கலாம்? Stock velocity. Cost of goods sold divided by average stock யூஸ் பண்ணி stock work out பண்ணலாம். அப்புறம் ஓப்பனிங் ஸ்டாக் க்ளோசிங் ஸ்டாக் எல்லாம் போட்டு பர்ச்சேசஸ் கண்டுபிடிச்சு கிரெடிட்டாஸ் ஒர்க் அவுட் பண்ணலாம். பேஸ்ட் ஆன் சேல்ஸ் we can work out டேட்டாஸ். பேஸ்ட் ஆன் காஸ்ட் ஆஃப் சேல்ஸ் we can find out கேபிட்டல், ஃபிக்ஸட் அசெட்ஸ் எல்லாமே ஒர்க் அவுட் பண்ணி. Shall we start? What is the gross profit given? 60,000. That is how much percentage of sales? 20% of sales. Therefore, pick it up along with me. Sales will be 60,000 divided by 20%. Okay. Sales minus cost of goods sold. 3 lakhs minus 60,000. sales minus gross profit. So cost of goods sold is 2,40,000. இதை வச்சு என்ன சொல்லியிருக்கேன், ரேஷியோ கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. Stock turnover 2,40,000. Cost of goods sold divided by average stock. எவ்வளோ times? 6 times. This is known to us. Average stock is 40,000. It is given closing stock is 5,000 more than the opening stock. So ரொம்ப simple, cut the difference into 2. Opening stock will be 40,000, half of the difference 2,500 minus பண்ண என்ன வந்துடும், 37,500 வந்துடும். Closing stock will be half the difference add பண்ணும். அதெல்லாம் போட்டிருக்காங்க, அந்த ஃபார்முலால அப்ளை பண்ணிட்டு போட்டால் அதே தான் வரும். 2,500 will give us how much? 42,500. Then purchases கண்டுபிடிக்கலாம். Cost of goods sold, what is another formula? Opening stock plus purchases minus closing stock will give us cost of goods sold. So opening stock we know 37,500 plus purchases 300 minus closing stock 42,500 will give us the cost of goods sold. This solve panna. Purchases will be 2,40,000 plus 42,500 minus 37,500. It will be 2,45,000. Using the purchases, enna pannu? Creditors velocity is given. Is expressed in days. How many days? 73 days. 73 days கொடுத்திருக்காங்க. அப்போ creditors will be bills payable கொடுக்கல, அதனால creditors டைரக்டா எடுத்துக்கலாம். 2,45,000 into 73 by 365. Since it is expressed in days, we work out 73 days. We collect the money from creditors now. 49,000 is creditors. What is the next one? Cost of goods sold divided by fixed assets. Cost of goods sold divided by fixed asset. எவ்வளவு times கொடுத்திருக்காங்க? 4 times. For cost of goods sold we worked out 2,40,000 na 1 euro. Next, cost of goods sold divided by capital means shareholders funds. Direct capital தான் கொடுத்திருக்கோம், not shareholders funds. Cost of goods sold divided by capital எவ்வளவு கொடுத்திருக்கோம்? 2:1. If this is 2 now, 1 level. This is not shareholders funds divided by capital. Balance sheet prepare panna. What is the capital amount we worked out? 1,20,000. Apart from that, we are given reserves and surplus. What is the reserves and surplus? 20,000. Creditors work out பண்ணிருக்கு. Creditors we worked out how much?
Sir.
கேளுங்க.
Sir, questionல capital turnover ratio on cost of sales ன்னு கொடுத்திருக்காங்க.
On
So
cost of sales,
capital
nothing but a cost of goods sold.
இல்ல sir, capital divided by cost of sales பண்ணக்கூடாது
இல்ல
sir.
இல்ல turnover ratio is always expressed in terms of sales divided by the respective item. Sales or cost of sales divided by respective item. Turnover ratio ங்கிறது as a in relation to sales தான் express பண்ணும். Sales divided by debtors or cost of goods sold divided by stock. அதே மாதிரி cost of goods sold divided by fixed asset. Turnover ratio turnover expressed in terms of the respective financial item.
Okay sir, okay.
Fixed assets எவ்வளவு work out பண்ணிருக்கோம்? Fixed assets how much we worked out? 60,000. வேற என்ன work out பண்ணிருக்கோம்? Stock, closing stock work out பண்ணிருக்கோம். What is the closing stock we worked out? 42,500. Closing stock 42,500. Debtors work out பண்ணிருக்கீங்க. What is the debtors balance? 50,000. The balance inflow is which one? Cash. Or you can take it as other current assets. What is the balance inflow? See, whatever we have done in the class is supplementary to the regular class working. Regular class ratios பண்ணிருக்கோம் இல்லைங்களா அந்த ப்ராப்ளம் plus உங்களோட study material question, the parent institute material question plus this question gives you kind of practice.